Hey everybody, how's it going? Matthew Kadish here, author of the Earthman Jack Space Saga, and today we've got some news coming at you from the Marvel Entertainment front, and this has to do with their TV properties. Now, a while back I did a video kind of announcing the slate of Hulu offerings of Marvel original series based around Marvel characters, and it was kind of this, Into Fear moniker where basically Marvel TV Studios was taking a lot of the kind of mystical horror characters from the Marvel Universe and making a more adult series for the Hulu streaming service, whereas the Disney Plus streaming service was going to be getting a little bit more, mainstream fare. And among those of the Into Terror, Journey into Terror TV shows that they announced was Ghost Rider. And Ghost Rider was meant to be kind of a pickup from his introduction into the Marvel Universe through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the TV show. And they were going to get the same actor to reprise his role as Robbie Reyes, the Robbie Reyes version of Ghost Rider. And it was going to basically, give the character his own show. And it sounded pretty cool. Well, today we got some sad news over here. At Deadline, they are reporting that Marvel's Ghost Rider live-action series is no longer going forward. And this is an article by Nellie Andreeves. And it goes like this. Hulu has opted not to proceed with Marvel's Ghost Rider, its planned live-action series starring Gabrielle Luna, I Have Learned. Hulu in May picked up two new live-action series from Disney's sibling Marvel Television, Ghost Rider and Hellstrom, to premiere in 2020. While Marvel's Hellstrom is on track, I hear Hulu and the Ghost Rider team have reached a creative impasse which could not be resolved, leading to the streamer's decision not to move forward with the series. Now, it's important to note here that Marvel Television is something completely separate from Marvel Studios. The way that Marvel has their production stuff set up is kind of weird. It used to be that Marvel Comics was the owner and controller of Marvel Studios. And a while back, Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel Studios, was really butting heads with Ike Perlmutter, the guy who ran and owned Marvel Comics, which, of course, was bought out by Disney. And basically, Disney, or Kevin Feige, went around Perlmutter, right to Bob Iger, the head of Disney, the CEO of Disney, and said, either you give me autonomy or I'm going to quit. I'm going to go elsewhere. So Iger separated Marvel Studios from Marvel Comics and made it its own separate arm of film production within Disney. So Marvel Studios actually has nothing to do with Marvel Comics anymore, even though they're under the same corporate umbrella. It's run independently of Marvel Comics. So Ike Perlmutter, the guy who runs Marvel Comics, has no say whatsoever and how Kevin Feige runs Marvel Studios and what movies they make and stuff like that. Now, what in that transition over there with Marvel Studios becoming its own kind of arm, what happened was the TV branch of Marvel, Marvel Television, stayed under the control of Marvel Comics and Ike Perlmutter. And they're the ones who've been doing the Marvel TV shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., all the Netflix series and stuff like that. And that's one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of crossover between the TV shows and the movies, because basically Marvel, the production entity that creates these Marvel TV shows, is run by a separate company other than Marvel Studios, and they don't really get along all that well. Now, that's not to say that there haven't been crossovers between the movies and the TV shows, but it just makes it a little bit harder. There's that little extra obstacle in there. And so that the TV shows that were going to be meant for Hulu were going to be handled by the Marvel TV studio, which is controlled by Marvel Comics. And the Disney Plus offerings were going to be made by Marvel Studios, which is run by Kevin Feige. Marvel Television remains a leading supplier to Hulu with a series slate that includes the live-action Marvel's Runaways, which has been renewed for a third season, and the upcoming Marvel's Hellstrom, both co-produced by ABC Signature. It also involved in a suite of 4 connected animated series, Marvel's MODOK, Marvel's Hitmonkey, Marvel's Tigra and Dazzler Show, and Marvel's Howard the Duck, set to roll out in 2020, culminating in a special event, Marvel's The Offenders. And this is basically, if you watch my other video on the Journey into Terror stuff, Jeff Loeb, the guy who runs, he's like the Kevin Feige of Marvel TV. He talked about these. These are all going to be animated offerings, but they're kind of geared more towards adults, and they're meant to be a little bit more humorous. Some of these things like Marvel's Tigra and Dazzler Show, where they kind of make it almost like a sitcom between these two characters, Howard the Duck, and then a play on The Defenders, which is the Offenders, where all these characters are going to team up together. I don't know about how good of an idea this is, and quite frankly, Jeff Loeb isn't known for his great ideas, but obviously it's going forward, and Hulu is going to be its home. Marvel's Ghost Rider is executive produced by Stephen Lightfoot, who was to serve as showrunner, Paul Zibieski, I don't know if I pronounced that right, and Marvel TV's Jeff Loeb. It is unclear whether the series will be shopped elsewhere. The anti-hero Ghost Rider, also known as Robbie Reyes, is consumed by Hellfire and supernaturally bound to a demon. Reyes lives on the Texas-Mexico border, and when he unleashes the Rider, Robbie brings vengeance for the innocents he encounters, but struggles to control the power he wields. The character was brought back to the Marvel Universe in 2016 on ABC's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., with the Robbie Reyes version played by Luna. In 2007, Sony and Marvel released a feature film based on the motorcycle rider with a flaming skull, directed by Mark Steven Johnson and starring Nicolas Cage as the Johnny Blaze version of the titular anti-hero. So one of the things that I find interesting about this is that, Hulu is owned by Disney. Marvel TV is owned by Disney. What type of creative differences could be happening here in order to prevent this TV show from going forward? Because you'd think that, the fact that Hulu has been publicly said to kind of host the more adult-oriented fare for Disney's streaming properties would want something that was a little bit darker, a little bit more adult, a little bit scarier than the stuff that was going to Disney+. So the only thing I can think of is that there might be some push to make Ghost Rider a little bit more political, in the sense that it takes place on the Texas border with Mexico, and a big thing in the news nowadays is immigration issues. So they might have been touching on subjects that Hulu wanted to stay away from, but you'd think that Disney, especially Marvel TV, might have stepped in and removed whoever was having these creative differences with Hulu to keep the show going forward. Because quite frankly, I can't see this show being shopped anywhere else. I don't think Disney would ever let any of their Marvel properties go to a different studio or a different network or a different streaming service, just because they're going all in on their streaming offerings. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So it seems like, for all intents and purposes, the Ghost Rider TV show is dead, at least the Hulu version. Now, see, there's a different aspect to this development, rather than just a TV show kind of getting canceled in the development phase. And that is this rumor that's been going around recently, and there is no official confirmation of this, but people are kind of reading the tea leaves and seeing this, and I see this definitely in the realm of possibility as well. And that is that Marvel Studios is taking over all live-action TV projects for the Marvel properties, and Disney is kind of setting the stage to phase out Marvel TV and close down that arm, and basically give Marvel Studios carte blanche to do all the TV and movie production, and just let Marvel Comics focus on publishing and the comic books. So this is an article over at CBR.com, and this is by Sam Stone, and the title is "Marvel Studios taking over all live-action TV projects." Sorry, couldn't speak there for a couple seconds. It may be the end of an era for Marvel Television, as the production arm of Marvel Entertainment is reportedly ceding future live-action projects to its sister company, Marvel Studios. Multiple industry sources have indicated recently that Marvel's live-action future remains uncertain following next year's end to its inaugural live-action series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and the television studio dropping development on its planned Ghost Rider spinoff earlier this month. Meanwhile, Marvel Studios, a division of Walt Disney Studios, and headed by studio president Kevin Feige, has steadily announced upcoming live-action programming tying in directly to the Marvel Cinematic Universe to begin premiering on Disney Plus next year. And they talked about this at Comic-Con, and at D23, we're getting a wide array of Marvel-based TV shows for the Disney Plus streaming service, and they're all coming from Marvel Studios. The only ones that we heard that Marvel TV were doing were the ones that were going to be on Hulu, and they didn't make any big announcements about that at any of these big conventions. It was just kind of through press releases. So it feels like Marvel TV is really the redheaded stepchild of Disney that they keep getting beat up on. And so it makes sense, and it comes as no surprise that Disney might be prepping to disband Marvel TV or have Marvel Studios absorb them. Feige's shows are so far beyond anything Marvel TV has been able to do, revealed one television agent in an interview with Variety. He has access to all these MCU characters that the other Marvel live-action stuff just doesn't, not to mention way bigger budgets. Headed by executive producer Jeff Loeb, Marvel Television branched out from its usual animated programming in 2013 with its launch of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. As the Marvel brand continued to garner millions worldwide through the success of its feature films, Marvel Television entered a partnership with Netflix to create a line of live-action original programming, which came to an end at the beginning of the year, with the premium service canceling Punisher and Jessica Jones simultaneously, the last of its two Marvel Television original series. While Cloak and Dagger remains on Freeform and Runaways remains on Hulu, the only other live-action project Marvel Television has officially announced in development is Hellstrom, as a Hulu original series slated to go into principal photography next month. Marvel Television remains committed to a line of original animated programming intended for mature audiences. To further lend credence to reports of Marvel Television gradually moving away from live-action programming, Ghost Rider was reportedly dropped because of Marvel Studios' desire to create its own project featuring the property. As two separate subsidiaries since August 2015, with separate oversight, Marvel Television began to move away from tying into the MCU after the division. Now, with Marvel Studios officially entering the world of live-action television, this will bring all of its subsequent programming under a single production company. So this makes more sense as to why the Ghost Rider TV show suddenly got dropped by Hulu, in the sense that maybe there were creative differences that couldn't be, fixed between the proposed producers and the network. But I think more likely is that, Marvel Studios wants to have Ghost Rider in its own stable and handle the TV show themselves. That makes a lot more sense to me. I think that Feige is definitely making a power play to kind of bring all the live action stuff under his control, and it just makes more sense for them to do it that way. It gives a lot more crossover potential, because you got to realize that every Marvel movie that comes out in the theaters can basically be a commercial for the Disney Plus service and drive people to subscribe to that. And that is the future of Disney. That is the future of their studio, and they're putting a lot of emphasis on that. So this makes sense. So I think what we're going to see, if this is true, is that we're going to see Marvel Studios take over more and more of the live action offerings, especially once the ones that Marvel TV is currently doing start getting canceled. And Marvel TV is probably going to just be relegated to an animation studio, essentially doing the cartoons, until eventually it's either absorbed or closed down by Marvel Studios, who will then, do everything under one roof, which, just for efficiency's sake, is really how it should be. It's kind of weird how these things get set up and created. The perfect example of that is how Viacom split up between CBS and Viacom, and the Star Trek licensees were kind of shared between the two studios, and it caused all sorts of barriers that weren't there before, and it really impeded Paramount's ability to make Star Trek movies, and it kept Star Trek off of TV for close to a decade. So this is kind of similar in the sense that there are these kind of artificial corporate barriers between Marvel Studios and Marvel Television. And if they can actually get rid of them, I think that would be a good thing, because it would free up, one entity to basically handle all these different aspects of production and storytelling and stuff like that. So we may not be getting a Ghost Rider TV show, but the good news is that it's quite possible that we might be getting a new Ghost Rider movie done by Marvel Studios. And the fact that I think they're focusing on the Robbie Reyes thing is because they don't want Sony to get a cut of it, because I guess the Nicolas Cage Ghost Riders were Sony co-productions, and we all know Disney and Sony have a bit of a contentious relationship over Spider-Man. So my guess is that's why they've kind of focused on the new version of Ghost Rider, and because they own that character, and that that doesn't belong to any other studio. So it is possible that we could be getting a Ghost Rider movie from Marvel Studios, or they could make their own series based on that character for Disney Plus. It's unclear at this time. However, I am a little bit hopeful that this isn't the last we've seen of the spirit of vengeance from the Marvel Universe. Anyway, guys, what do you think of this news? Are you sad that Ghost Rider got canceled? Are you excited that it might be going in the movie direction again under Marvel Studios? Do you think the artificial corporate barriers are as crazy as I do? Let me know in the comments, and as always, please subscribe to my channel for more movie, TV, and entertainment news and analysis. This is Matthew Kadish. I'll catch you in the next video.